Hey guys, welcome to My Little Paintbrush. I am Miss Sarah, and today we are going to be painting a scene from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I am so excited to do this. I love this movie. We're going to need a couple of brushes today, a large flat and a medium flat, and then I also have a detail or line brush. We're going to need this for our image transfer. It's going to be our best friend. So if you don't have a little brush like this, get one, because you'll definitely need it today. Okay, so as we're painting this fun scene, remember to be nice to yourself. We are going to be learning a lot today, and that's so exciting. But remember, you can pause the video, you can rewind it, start it again. You don't have to go as fast as I am going. That's the beauty of recording, right? So take your time and enjoy the process. Let's get started. So you're going to need to use your largest brush first, and let's put it in some water to loosen up the bristles here. Kind of tap off the water. I like to leave a lot of the water in my brush because our acrylic paint seizes up. It gets a little bit thick sometimes, and you'll see that I've put all my paint out on my plate so I can see it and get to it easily. All right, and so I have my trace here on canvas, ready to go. This is going to make it really easy for you, which I love. I love this. So we're going to start out first by putting our moon in, okay? And this is just going to warm us up a little bit. So the way we're going to do this is a little bit different possibly for some of you. You're just wanting to put a little bit of white on one corner of your brush, okay? And then a little bit of yellow on the other corner. So your brush looks like this. You have yellow on one side and white on the other. Okay, we're going to face our yellow on the outside edge of our moon. And you'll notice as I stroke down like that, the yellow kind of fades into my white, and that's what we want. Okay, now I'm going to go back up the opposite direction and just keep blending that yellow in. Let it fade into our white. That's what gives it that fun glow. And it's okay if you go out of the lines a little bit. That's why we're doing this first. It gives us lots of options later on. So I'm not too worried about it. And yellow is very translucent, so you can see through it. So our trace here can still be seen even though we're painting right over the top of it. Isn't that great? So if you didn't get our kit with the canvas pre-traced for you, one thing to keep in mind is if you trace that pattern onto your canvas yourself, just be sure to use a lead pencil. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring the moon around here. Finish off my circle. And if you use that lead pencil, you'll be able to see right through your yellow. It's a wonderful thing. Okay, so we just want to make sure we have that moon in just the way you want it to be. If you want to put more yellow in, you can. I'm not going to go in too far. I'm just kind of letting it be here. I'm staying pretty close to the edge of my moon because I want the focus to be Jack and Sally. So I'm not going to go too far in here. Leave them be. I think I'm going to put a little more yellow up here. It's different every time I paint this because my brush will do different things each time. You can go back and add more white or yellow if you want, but I'm going to leave it now. We're going to leave that alone. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to just put our brush in water and rinse it out. Clean it up here. We're going to start our background now while our moon dries for just a minute. So my background is purple, white, and black. But I'm going to start with white and purple first. And in order to get that glowing effect around our moon, we want to do the same concept here. We want to put some white on one corner and then purple this time on the other corner, okay, of our brush. So it looks like this. We have white and purple on each side, and the white this time is going to face our moon and go around our moon here. Okay, if you need to hold your canvas for a minute for this part, go for it, okay? But we're gonna slowly work our way out. Keep the white facing your moon and then slowly work your way out. And you'll notice that you'll start to get that fading effect. Every time I dip my brush, I do the same thing. I put white on one corner and purple on the other, okay? And we wanna carefully go around our moon. If your paint isn't going on very smooth, you might need some water. I just put some water on my brush and it's going on a lot better now. You have to remember with acrylics that they do dry up easily on our palette here or our plate. They don't dry completely. All you need to do is add water to them, but they start to seize up a little bit. So water's our best friend while we're creating with acrylics here. Okay, so I'm trying really hard to keep this circle, but we're going to come back in a little bit and add some orange to it, so I'm not too worried. Okay, but we do want to try and keep our circle there. Okay, and this purple, I'm just going to brush it in here, right through that fun curl, right through there. We want to just keep the same effect here all the way through. And you can see that I can still make out my tracing right there. Because purple's the same way as yellow. It's translucent, so you can usually see pretty well. Okay, and you can add, I'm putting a little more purple on my brush as I get towards my edges. But we want to keep the same effect going, so I'm putting white on one side and purple on the other. And I'm curving my brush with the moon, okay? So smiley shape here. Keep that smile going all the way down. I'm not painting side to side, right? We're not painting side to side. And that's how we get that glowing effect around our moon. Okay, so now let's go up here and just finish it off. My canvas is a little bit bigger than yours. I have a little more space up top here. Yours is probably over. You're done right there. You're already at the edge of your canvas. And that's great. You can just leave it be. Okay, I'm just gonna finish it off on both sides here. So once again, I dip my brush half white, half purple to keep that effect going all the way around. Okay, and I'm using more purple as I get to the corner of my canvas. I want it a little darker, so I'm going to use a little more purple as I get towards the corner. There we go. If your paint starts to dry, you'll notice that it doesn't blend as easily into each other, so you kind of want to work quick and get that paint on. We're going to do the corners up here, adding a little more purple, make it a little darker. Corner over here. You can also reach around and paint the sides of your canvas and the top while you're at it here. Okay. Just want to make sure all of that's blended in. Awesome. See how cool that looks with the white and purple effect spinning around the moon. Okay, so let's rinse our brush. Make sure it's clean. And we're going to start doing some fun stuff. Now that our background's on and our moon, we're going to start putting in all the detail. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is paint this black. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm still using a large flat brush for this. because I'm filling in some large space still. I'll switch it up in just a little bit. But right now I'm still using my black brush, or my big flat brush for black. So let's go ahead and put that in here. Okay, we're going to add a lot of fun things in a minute, but we first want to get this in so you can see it well. Okay, we're going to try and keep this line nice and clean. Okay, it's okay if you cover up Jack's shoe there. It's actually a shadow. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that shadow pretty soon here. All right. Okay, so I just want to make that as smooth as we can make it and go all the way around here. And there's Sally. See, I just painted right over her shoe there too, and that's okay. It's a shadow. And it's kind of fun to learn how to put that shadow in. So I'll show you that in a minute. Make sure you're adding water to your paint as you go with this black, because you'll probably see some white pockets in your canvas. And that is normal. It just means you need to add a little bit of water to fill in those little white pockets with black. All right, so I'm going to do this curl up to the point that I feel comfortable with my brush before I switch brushes. Okay, so it's about there. It's about there. I'm going to finish off this curl with a different brush. So I'm going to use my little line brush. It's my detail brush. It's really small. You can use any brush here that you feel fits comfortably. Okay, you just want to be able to do this work without feeling out of control and like it's just going out of the lines too much and it's uncomfortable for you. So if you want to just switch that up, get a brush that feels good. Okay, I'm going to curl this little spot here. And I can make it all the way around if I have enough water in my brush. Once again, you just want this black to be kind of inky. Okay, if it's not going on very smooth, that just means you need to thin your paint a little more. There we go. This just takes a minute, so take your time to fill this in. All these little things, these curves can be a little tricky, so take your time. You can even pause this video if you need to take a minute. We're going to go all the way around that curl, just like that. All right, be careful because I am really good about putting my hand in my black paint as I'm doing things like this. I rest my hand or my wrist on the canvas as I do it sometimes, and I'm really good at just smearing my black paint all over the place. So if that happens to you, you can just stop and wipe it off with a damp napkin. Or remember, we're going to cover this in some heels, so don't stress it. If you just got a little bit of black somewhere, that's okay. It's going to cover it right up in a minute. All right, so we have that curl on. And while I have this detail brush in my hand, I'm going to go ahead and paint in Jack and Sally here. Okay, so we want to use our detail brush to do that. Actually, no, we're not going to do that yet. I'm going to rinse my brush. If you want to, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to do this in steps so that it can dry for me as I go. If you want to take a minute and go ahead and fill in Jack and Sally, you can. But I'm going to start my heels here so they can have a minute to dry. So we have two little hills that are fun. They kind of come up and down. Now if you want to take a piece of chalk like this and chalk them in first so you can see them, okay, you can totally do that. But I kind of just freehand it. The nice thing with chalk is you can come in here, put it in, and decide if you like it before you paint it. See, if I erase this, you can take it right off your canvas. Isn't that great? Okay, so if you have a piece of chalk candy, you can do that, or you can just go for it and fill it in. We're gonna do it with black first, just like this. Okay, you can create this hill however you like. I had fun doing these shapes. Up and out, just like that. Okay. Just going to paint these in so they have a minute to dry before we move on. We're going to learn some fun dry brushing technique so you can get all the effect here of these hills. And I made these up, so they're kind of different whenever I do them again. And right here, I'm gonna leave a little bit of space. I mean, I was inspired by the movie, but these hills just made me think of all the loops and shapes in that show. It's one of my favorites. Okay, so I'm going to leave, you can see this purple showing up right there. I'm leaving that there so you can see where this curves around, okay? All right, now we're going to let that dry. And let's go back to Jack and Sally and paint them in. Okay, so we have some black on our brush, our detail brush, and we're going to go ahead and outline them first. The reason I outline them first is so I get that clean border around Jack and Sally. Okay, if I just went right into filling them in, sometimes my brush gets out of control and I get lumpy results. So I like to outline first just to make sure it's nice and clean. And I start from the outside and work my way in so I have somewhere to rest my wrist. See that? So if I rest my wrist here on the side, it makes it a little easier for me to control what's happening here. Okay. So her shoe, she has this heel going on there. And great calf muscles, right? And it comes all the way up here. Kind of curves around. You can fill that in if you want to as you go. The little places. We're going to do that on this side too. Same thing. All the way up and then just kind of fill it in as we go. All right. And then her fun dress here. Love her dress and all the colors. Wish we could do all the colors, because I would. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and fill in her arms. You can come back and reshape things later if you want. If anything looks off to you, you can definitely do that. Okay. Outline that and fill it in. Now her hands come together right here. So I just draw this straight line. These are his fingers coming up there. So her hands come straight out because she's holding his hand. Okay. we go. All right, let's start on Jack here. So his fingers come up a little bit here. You know, his bony fingers there. Same with his hand here. So all you need to do is one brush stroke on each of those lines and you've done it. Don't need to fill anything else. I mean, depending on your detail brush there, your line brush, you should be totally good on that. If you just do that one line, that one stroke. Because we know Jack, he's all limbs there. Okay, all bone. So we're just going to do one stroke up, just like that. And then let's outline Jack as well. His neck is one stroke. If you want to add his white eye, you can too. I almost did that. That's kind of fun. Get creative here. Add any little details you want to. And I went ahead and filled in his head there because it's very small. Okay, and his outfit, super cool, but it's just one brush stroke as well. So you're just going to stroke here on each one, just like that. Make sure your paint isn't seizing up on you, okay? If it's starting to get thick, you want to add a little water to it. Mine's getting there. One stroke there. Let's outline his outfit. Right around there. I like to hold my canvas for this because it's such a small space. So if you feel like you want to, you can. Here we go. Let's fill that in. All right, so his tail here coming off of his what is it called? I lost it. Tuxedo, there's the word. Okay, so his tail here coming right off of there is just one stroke. You're just going to stroke each one of these, one brush stroke. Okay. And it looks cool either way. All right, now his legs, same thing. Depending on your brush, you could probably just do one stroke there to fill it in. And one thing to remember too is his pant legs as you come down get a little wider. So you can come out a little bit as you come down and let them get a little bit wider towards the ankle. Like that. And then we get that part of that foot here coming out. Just like that. There we go. Okay, we'll do it on this side too. Try not to smear your black. It's kind of hard to do. Come down here. And once again, that gets a little wider right there. Okay. Go. Awesome. So Jack is all finished. We'll add some highlighting in a minute. And we can go ahead and fill her in here. See, once you've outlined it, it's really easy to just go back and fill in the space and you don't have to worry about the edges. So I always love to outline first. It just makes it a lot smoother for you. Fill that in. Get her little hair here coming out. All those little details. We'll give some light to her in a minute once she's dry. Okay. Looks good. gonna do some bats. And if you've never done bats before, you're gonna love this because they will become the easiest thing you've ever done. So don't get too scared here. If you need to take just a minute and watch me first before you do it yourself, then that's okay. I would just wait just a minute before you do it, and I'll show you how to do this shape. So I'm gonna do 3 bats. Once you learn how to do this, you can do as many bats as you want, okay? I'm gonna do 3 of them. 1 here on this side and then 2 over here. Since I just painted her, I'm gonna show you over here first. But the bat, you can decide if you want them facing whichever direction. It's up to you. Oh, I got some blue on that moon, or black on the moon. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's take our black on our detail brush and decide where you want that bat to go. Okay, mine's kind of facing out towards the edge. And I'm just going to create this V with my paintbrush. See that? I created a V and then a straight line down. Just like that. Okay. And now the wings, you're just going to come out in whichever direction you want them to go and create this rainbow shape. Just like that. So you have a rainbow shape. I'm going to come out on the other side. Create a rainbow shape there. Okay. Now inside the rainbow, you're going to do 2 humps. 1, 2, just like that. 1, 2. And then fill it in. Isn't that fun? Super easy, right? You can just have some fun with it and make them as big or as small as you want. So they can be flying in any direction. Making this one a little bigger so it really stands out. Just like that. Cool. So there you have it. There's a bat. Okay, now we're gonna do 2 of them over here. And they're kind of going the opposite direction from her. So we have one here. Let's do it again. We're gonna create that V shape and then go straight down so it looks like a Y. Okay, got your Y there. And then let's create that rainbow shape. Just like that. And then underneath you're doing 2 humps. 1, 2. Just like that. We'll do it on the other one. 1, 2. All right, there's our other bat, and you can go back and make it bigger, smaller, whatever you're feeling there, and just build off of it. Okay, let's do one here, really facing the other way. Okay, so let's create our V, and then our Y. If you want to change up the leaves a little bit, or wings, you can have them reaching further. That. Totally up to you. But you can get a little bit creative with it and have them reaching up higher so they look like they're going a different direction. There we go. Just want to try and keep the same shape. Okay. Awesome. There's our bats. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush and let's let those bats dry while we work on some other things. If you do what I did with that black, just put some white in there, covered up. All right, this is some fun stuff we're going to do here. We're going to do a little bit of dry brushing and blending. So grab your largest brush, large flat brush. Okay, and we're gonna put some white on the corner of it, just like this. We have some white on there. Okay, we're gonna come up here to our first mountain with the curl, right? Okay, and the white is facing up. We are gonna brush this white right along the top, just like that. And bring it down a little bit. We just want to show where the moon is reflecting. So we're gonna brighten that up a little bit. Okay, I'm not bringing my white down to the center. If you do, it's okay. You can just put black right over it, right? If it gets out of control. But we just wanna show the light. So I'm gonna make it a little bit gray right through here. Okay, we're gonna come up here, kind of let it fade out, just like that. And kind of see where it fades out, where her shoe is gonna be. I added some water to my brush here because it was drying out on me, so I have to put a little more on there. All right, there we go. So now I'm gonna put more white on there because you don't want it too dry or it won't blend for you. Okay, so we're gonna bring the white around and stop wherever you would like. I'm kind of letting it fade away and then leaving it. Okay, that. Get a little darker on top with some white. All right, yep. And if you get those thicker strokes in there, awesome. Leave it be. All right, now I'm gonna do the same thing right here. Okay. This is why we left the purple. I wanted you to be able to see where to bring that white. So you have white on one corner of your brush and you're just letting it fade. Like that. Okay, now you want to make sure you have enough so when you come back with the yellow and purple in a minute, it stands out where you want it to. Okay, so just make sure you have enough light on there wherever you want it. Okay, let's let that dry for just a minute. We're going to come over here to our first hill. Rinse my brush. Got a little black on it. Okay, we're going to come here to our first hill, and just along the top where you can imagine the moon is casting a reflection or some light off of there, we're going to put some white just right along the top. And if you feel like you have too much white, just put some black in its place, okay? And we're going to do the same here, just a little bit of light peeking out on that heel, right? Just a little bit. All right, just like that. Now you can see it. All right, so we're gonna let that dry just a minute. And then here, I have a little bit of a valley showing up, right? So you're gonna decide where you want that to be. I'm just gonna do this, like there's a little hill here, okay? And it kind of connects right up where our mountain starts. Now when we put our pumpkin in here and our fence, you'll see it all come together. But right now, you're just gonna paint that gray. Just a little bit of gray there. Okay, now I'm gonna put some black on my brush. I rinsed my brush out, put a little black on it, and come make sure the center of your hill is casting a dark shadow right along the middle. Like there's this middle V here, okay? So we don't want the whole thing gray. We want to show the different shadows going on. So it makes this painting so fun. It's all of the different shadows and shades. Awesome. Okay, let's let that dry just a minute. And you'll notice we also have some light showing inside our curl, right? So you can either grab your detail brush and put some white on it, or grab a smaller flat brush like this. I'm going to put a little bit of white on this corner of my smaller flat brush. And I'm going to come right in here where I imagine the light is shining or reflecting off of that. And we're just going to go right along the edge. This is where you may feel a little more comfortable using a detail brush to put that in. Okay, so if you feel a little better using that detail brush to put that light, go for it. I'll do an example here for you in just a minute. Okay, I'm going to come around here with this. Just kind of let that light fade out wherever you imagine it would. Okay, I'll use a detail brush here and show you what I mean. Just put some white on it. Okay, and if you want to add a little bit of light inside your curl here, just outline it with some white, just like that. Perfect. We'll go right around the edge, anywhere you want light to be casting on it. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of white there. Awesome. Okay, at this point, it should be pretty dry for you. This should all be getting pretty dry for you. So you should be able to start adding those shades here in a minute. Okay, but let's take some white and make it look like their legs are glowing just a little bit here. I'm just going to take a little bit of that white on your detail brush. Okay, and we're just going to outline where those legs are. A little bit here and there. Anywhere you can imagine the light touching them. A little bit here on his back. Okay. On her hair, just like that. And we're just gonna put a little bit along her skirt to show that it's flowing right there. Okay, I think that's it on that. I'm gonna put a little bit here on his belly. And then the bat wings, if you want, if they're dry, you can kind of add some white to the bat wings so they stand out, just like that. Okay, we're getting there, guys. We are getting there. All right, so one little detail you can add to her shoe. Her little shoe comes up where the heel is, just like this. So if you want to add that little V there where her heel is, it's a fun little detail to stick in there. Okay, if it is dry, let's see. I'm going to go ahead now and add my fence, okay? Right along the back here. And the fun thing with this fence is it doesn't need to be perfect, because nothing is. It's just kind of makes it fun. So I'm going to use my detail brush with some black on it. And we're just going to put this squiggly little fence in here. It's not even a perfect line. It just kind of goes up. Okay. And we have 5 little posts here coming up. Now I kind of have them facing different directions. So you could have one turning and twisting there. But I have 5 total. I'm going to put, just for fun, these little triangle shapes on top, if you want to. So if you notice in the movie, they're on the fence post, so it's kind of a fun detail. You can add those little triangles. And then one more little part of the fence going up there, just like that. And it's on there. And let that dry a second. Okay, let's go back to our big brush. Make sure it's really clean. And here we go. We're gonna do some dry brushing. So I washed it really well, and I'm just gonna put some yellow on it now, just on the corner of my brush, okay? And I'm gonna brush in yellow along the top and let it fade out there. Not a lot of it, it's just kind of where I can imagine that yellow is reflecting. See that? And when you go over the white that you put on there, it really stands out. I'm going to do it here as well, just over the top, right on top of that yellow. See that? So it stands out when you put the white on first. Just kind of put it right over the top. And let it fade into the hill. I'm going to put just a little bit here as well, just along the edge there. Awesome. Okay, we have some in the curl too, but I'm going to switch brushes because I just feel like this big brush is going to mess up my moon. Okay. Anywhere you want to add some more black, go for it. Rinse your brush out before we switch colors. Now we're going to do the same with the purple. My brush is clean, so I'm actually loading my whole brush with purple because I have a much bigger space I'm going to fill with the purple. I'm just going to brush the purple up and into that curl, just like that. Let it fade out. There we go. If it's darker in some spots and lighter in others, then perfect. That's what we're going for. We're going to add the purple here as well underneath, letting it kind of fade into our yellow, just like that. And then right over on this hill, we're going to paint this purple as well, just to show that contrast, just like that. Oh, I'm going to put a little bit of white on top of the hill where the moon's going to reflect. Just want it brighter up there. There we go. Got it done. Easy as that. Okay, use your detail brush, your smallest brush, to come in here to where these curls are and put that yellow in there. But see, I'm using my smaller brush because it's just a lot easier to control that yellow. Making sure it doesn't go into my background or anything. There we go. And there's our glow in there. All right, rinse your brush out. Okay guys, you ready to do pumpkins? We're going to use our medium flat brush to do these pumpkins. And the fun thing with these pumpkins are you can put them anywhere. You can put as many as you want. Okay, I did 3 and they're about the same size. But I'm going to take some of my white here and mix it with my orange. The reason we want a lot of white for our first layer of pumpkin is because we're putting it on black. And we need white to help cover our black. Okay, so I mixed my orange with white. Kind of decide where you want those pumpkins. I'm going to set one here, just right where the hills come together. Okay, kind of sitting up here. And the way we do our pumpkin is you're going to shape 2 smiley faces together to create this almost circle, right? It's a little more oval. And then on the side, add 1 more loop for a smiley face there, right on the side. Up and down, just like that. Okay. I go ahead and paint my pumpkins in the shape that I'm going to keep them, because that way the grains kind of look like they're going that direction. Makes it easier for later. Okay, so we have another one right over here. So I'm going to create that oval shape, just like that. And then right on the side, I'm going to add another, coming around, just like that. And these pumpkins can get as big as you want them. Keeping mine pretty medium, but okay. And I'm going to put one right over here, sitting straight up a little taller. One there. And then the sides. There we go. Now we're going to come back and add shadows at the end. So this is just layer number one. Just get your pumpkin in there first. Just think of the half circle or half smile, or sideways smile, I should say. It's not a half smile, it's a full smile, but sideways as you're doing the pumpkin. Just like that. And let's let that dry just a minute. It's perfect. And while we're using the orange, we're going to put just a little bit of orange in our moon, just so it balances this, okay? It brings our orange in. So I'm going to come up here to our moon. I just rinsed my brush. I want to double check it, make sure it's really clean, because your moon is white. And if your brush isn't clean, you're going to smear another color in there, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of orange on the very corner of my brush, just like that. Then I'm going to dip it in my yellow. Okay, so you have a little bit of orange. You can mix it if you want, if you feel better about mixing it. The reason I do this is I don't want it to be a super bright orange that just takes over our moon. I want it to fade just a little bit. Okay, so once I have the color I want, I'm going to put it on my brush here on the corner. We're just going to go along the edge of our moon, right over our bat wings. It won't matter if you go over it, as long as they're dry. Just like that. And just give it that orange glow all the way around. I love how it just balances the whole painting, brings it together there. So I'm going to go around again, just make sure it's all blended in. Depending on where you put your bats, if you want to, you can always go back over them a little bit. I'm painting this in steps so it'll dry for me to teach you. So if you need to go back and go over those wings just a little bit, you can. But if you keep that orange on the very corner of your brush, you should not have a problem with it. Okay, we're going to go all the way around this side with that orange and just let it fade into our moon. And just depending on how much yellow you mix into that orange, it can be a lot darker or brighter. So that's up to you. You have a lot of options here. Okay, I'm going to do this little area too. Don't want to forget the bottom part of our moon. Just brush it in so it matches everything. Awesome. I like it. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush out. Let our moon be. Okay, now in these upper corners, I'm going to take a little bit of my black and mix it with a little bit of my purple. Okay, I'm going to come up to these corners and brush that black purple just in the corner of my canvas. Yours is a lot smaller than mine, remember? So you won't have as much space to fill here as me. So just fill in as much as you want to bring in that sky. Just like that. And you can go ahead and reach around and do all the corners if you want. But you just kind of want it to fade out into your purple. Just like that. Okay. always a good idea too if you feel like it's too much. You can just add a little white to your brush and see how you can just bring that white back in if you want to. Okay, so that's up to you. If you feel like, oh, I have too much black and I don't love it, just put some white on your brush and you can just bring it right back in to the purple. Just like that. Okay, we're just going to let that dry for just a minute and then we'll add our stars. So while that's drying, let's go back to our pumpkins and just add that last layer. So this last layer, you just want to put a little more orange in your white. So I'm going to mix more orange than I had before. Okay, but we're going to come right back into our pumpkins, fill them in. That. Just make sure they get a good layer on there so they look orange and not gray. Okay, so we got our pumpkins, got that layer on there. Okay, now I'm going to put just orange on the corner of my brush. Now you can either outline this with just orange, or you can do it like me and just put that orange in there. I still have the light orange on one side of my brush here. I just added a little bit of the dark orange to the side and I'm putting it on the outside of my pumpkins to frame them a little more. So the center is lighter than the edges. Okay, so go all the way around. Go. Do this one as well. And it doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to be able to give yourself an outline if you want with the orange. You're going to come back with black in just a minute. Okay, let that dry. Grab your biggest brush and flip it around. We're going to use the back of it for our stars. So I'm going to get this white chocolate chip with the back of my brush. Just come up here to wherever you want to put these stars in. Okay, make them a little bit random if you want. You can put as many as you want in there. I like to kind of set my stars in threes as a kind of a pattern. Kind of build off of threes as I do my stars. So you can do that too, or just make them random. Kind of let them fade into your purple. Just like that. I love it. All right. While our pumpkin takes just a minute to dry, we're going to add this white fence. You can chalk it in first, or you can just freehand it. Okay, but this white fence is going to come down and kind of fade out into our pumpkin. Now remember, these fences are not perfect, right? That's what makes them kind of fun. So they come up and it just kind of fades out like that. It's kind of a loopy fence, right? And then you can add all the wood coming down here. And I like to kind of face them different directions for fun, just to give it that whimsical look. Come around here. There we go. Just like that. And then I'm going to add just one more little fence here along the bottom. That comes down and fades out as it comes around there, just like that. Cool, and while you're at it, you can add some white to this fence too. Just give it a highlight. So it shows the reflection of the moon too, back there. Perfect. Okay, rinse your brush out. Use your smallest flat brush again. And we're going to put some yellow on it. And come here to our pumpkins and paint that yellow in them. This way all of our colors, so I'm just painting the yellow in the center part of each pumpkin. And each one, each little loop. And it just brings all our colors together. Looks so good, guys. Let's grab some black and finish our pumpkin. And you guys are just about there. So I'm gonna take this black and we're gonna add an outline to our pumpkin. So you're gonna go right around like this to go, just follow what you did previously on your pumpkin to outline each of your loops. So think smiley face as you go around. So we're gonna do this one. You're shaping them as you go. There we go. This really brings out the pumpkin shape, finishes it off. We're just gonna outline it here with our outline brush, or line brush. Go right around here. Outline this one too. This is nice too because if you want to fix any of your shape, if there's a part of the shape that's bothering you, you just take this outline and curve it around. Just like that, and you did it. Okay, let's add that shadow. We're gonna come up here to Jack, to his feet, and use your smallest detail, or smallest flat brush, and see how I just brushed in that shadow? So you're gonna pull away from his leg and do a square, okay? Going towards the left. And then when you come over to Sally, you're doing the same thing with her shoe, but you're going to the right. So it casts a shadow that direction. And we'll do the same thing with our pumpkin. So imagine the moon is behind them. So your shadow is being cast forward. So you're gonna come right under your pumpkin and just brush away from your pumpkin with the black. And it doesn't need to be the same length or anything. This is all just pulling away from your pumpkin and letting that brush land to cast a shadow in front of your pumpkin. Just like that. Super cool, huh? It does so much to finish it. Okay, grab your detail brush, give your pumpkin a little highlight. Just like that. And give yourself a high five because you just finished it. And it looks amazing. Last thing we're gonna do is sign our name because you're an artist and you just did an incredible job, so we're gonna own it. I like to find a spot here, anywhere on my canvas that I like. I like to follow my image usually and just sign my name. Sarah. All right, guys, thank you for painting with me today. We'll see you later. Bye.